Welcome back to the motherfucking podcast, guys.
Hi.
I'm Lacey.
I'm Stephanie.
And this is Here We Go.
Did we do that last time?
Yes.
Okay.
I sound so clear on this mic. Wow.
You sound great.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, guys, is today our first actor?
Yeah.
That we ever have on? Yeah, we have our first actor on, and it's Colin Ferguson, and you may have seen him as the Maytag Man. You may have seen him in Vampire Diaries. You may have seen Eureka.
And some other shows.
There's a lot.
Yeah.
But yeah, he's awesome, and we don't really just talk about acting, though. We brought him on for something way more interesting, and that's co-parenting, and I definitely don't think that is something that's talked about enough or a lot at all, but he has a very successful form of co-parenting that really interested me because my parents are divorced and it was not good, and it really not, and he's not divorced, but you know, they're separated now, and their divorce completely shaped and messed with me and affected my entire life in the most fundamental years that I could live. So it's just, yeah.
Which, I mean, 50% of marriages now, like, end up in divorce, which is a crazy statistic. You have a 50-50 shot.
Yeah, but I was talking about that statistic with someone, and they said that it's really old. Oh. And that it's because people were getting married very young a long time ago. And now people are waiting a lot longer to get married and discovering themselves later, and thus discovering the right person that they want to be with. And so the divorce rate has actually gone down quite a bit.
Fun fact.
Yeah, which I'm not saying like you're wrong. I'm saying like interesting though, because I have always been told that too. Yeah. But yeah, we just thought it would be nice to bring someone on to talk about this, because a lot of y'all out there need to know that it's possible to do this.
It's an option, and like for maybe like future plans. If you, how do I explain this? But yeah, like basically he has two houses. His co-parent lives in one, he lives in the other, and they're very close, but they can't see each other.
They're 150 feet from each other, but around the corner to where there's trees blocking her house, and there's trees blocking his house, and he can't see when she comes home, she can't see when he comes home, but they are constantly just, it just works. He walks over there every morning and wakes up his son, and
and the reason for doing this is for the child, and to give them the best experience they can. And he said that they removed them. It's not about you anymore. It's you take yourself out of it. And when you think of like divorced parents, it's like they're separated, or like maybe like 1 week on, one week off, and they don't want anything to do with each other. And it can be really hard. Like, it's hard on children. Like, divorce can be so hard on children to the where I'm like still like not struggling with it, but like every holiday is a pain in the motherfucking ass. It's such a pain in the ass trying to please both sides of the family. And I'm like, like literally every year I'm like, you did this. Like, please be like lenient with me. Like, you guys did this. So like,
that's so annoying.
I can only do so much as a child trying to make both of their parents happy on the same day when they don't live hours apart from each other. It's so hard.
I don't really have a relationship with my dad at all anymore. Just because I'm very much a free spirit, and he doesn't like that. So, but luckily I only have to kind of make one parent happy, and I was noticing the effects of like my parents' divorce whenever I took my boyfriend back to Arkansas for his first time ever in Arkansas, and his first time to ever meet my mom and all the very important friends in my life. And I was realizing as people were meeting him, they're like, oh yeah, like, you know, you get to meet her parents, and they're like, oh wait, no, just her mom. And I was just like, damn, my God, like that's so luckily I'm not embarrassed by that at all, but I'm just like,
it sucks.
It's just like, dang, you know, like it's just like another thing. It'd be so. And he made a comment that, you know, it was that the moment that he realized he wanted to do it this way is when he looked over and it was at a wedding or something, and he saw his entire family in one corner of the room, and he just had never seen that before, and he was like, that's what I want. And I was like, dang, I've never seen that before, and I don't know if I ever will, and it's just really unfortunate. But I mean, aside from that, the trip to Arkansas was really fun.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, so
I think a takeaway from this episode that really stood out to me was he mentioned that love can come and go, and one thing that can last is respect, and that's one thing that he has with his co-parent. And we mentioned that relationships, you need to consider all aspects, not just the love aspect. You need to consider it like as if it were a business, because there's so much that goes into operating with a person. And if you're bringing children into the world, like you need to have like a well-oiled business
machine,
and like the foundation needs to be respect, like period.
It needs to be respect and then love, like truly, like it, because respect should just come as a human being, and then it needs to be established and grown, and then love, you know, like it's great if one comes before the other, but they both definitely fucking have to be there. So and that's just something that I've always did, and I didn't even realize growing up that you needed that. Like I just was like, oh, respect, you respect everybody. No, it's such a different type of respect when you respect your partner. You hold them to a higher value than you hold almost anyone else in your life or anything else, and so I had never done that.
It's like a balance between also respecting yourself, because I've found in times I don't want to say that I don't respect myself, but when I don't even abide, that's such a big word for this, but like abide to my own boundaries, I'm disrespecting myself. Like when I cross my own boundaries or what I actually want to do, or like don't speak my mind or say how I really feel, like I have found that I tend to disrespect myself kind of a lot in some relationships. And this doesn't really have to do with the co-parenting thing, but with divorced parents, it makes me think, like, where did I get this? And I often like ask myself, with my like dating patterns, are the guys that I kind of am attracted to, or what I'm attracting, is it because I feel like I have to work for love? Like, I don't know, like as a child, where did I learn that?
Right. Wow.
I know.
You hire Bella.
Like it's almost like I'll do anything when I should, like I should respect myself and know, like, hey, this is like below the minimum.
But you're also younger and like figuring out what you want, and you're in a space where you don't have a lot of experience in those areas. So it's not the worst thing to do all these things for love. It's not the worst things to explore, and like,
right.
It's, I mean, as long as you're, happy with what you're doing and you're not feeling bad, of course. But
I think whatever I'm doing, asking these questions, I think it's I'm on the right track.
Yeah.
Like I should be asking these questions.
Yeah.
I should be taking note of the patterns that I'm seeing, and like, hey, I didn't like that. I didn't like how I responded to that. I didn't like how I accepted that. Or there's different things. Yeah. There's awareness that is there, and I'm very happy that it's there. I'm like questioning, like, wait, why are you there?
I don't think I've ever been this is gonna sound sad. I don't think I've ever been emotionally aware until I was in 30, or like right before 30. Like
really?
Being in therapy and stuff and going through all the things that I had went through prior to turning 30 and stuff. I just never really asked myself those questions. I feel like birth through 29, it just was like,
I'm trying to think, because I obviously knew you in your 20s. So.
And I just don't think that I cared. I don't think, or I knew. I was just like I wasn't pushing any boundaries. I was just under a cloak, it feels like. Like I just was going through the motions under a cloak of my whole life. And then with the breakup and everything, I just like came out. Like as soon as that ended.
Your Saturn return, maybe.
Like look at what happened. Like I literally moved, created all these things, like, and I just became, and then was doing inner work the whole time by myself for like a year.
Yeah.
So then I started asking myself, how are you feeling? Like, why did you do this? Why'd you do that? Like,
yeah, what does it mean?
Yeah, and a lot of people don't get to that point unless something traumatic has happened to them.
Oh, fuck.
Yeah, so
I feel like I've been asking myself these questions for a minute. Maybe.
A lot of people don't. Like, I never really had a situation where I really needed to. I mean, I did, but I was still like really young and immature and not in the place of never asking myself how I felt or why.
Yeah, what is the driving force? Is it just curiosity? Is it a desire to grow? Is it a desire to be better? Is it a natural, like, curiosity? I don't know.
I mean, that's what mine was. Why did I do that? So I don't want to do that again, or I can understand myself. It's not for really anything else, I guess. But yeah, that came at such a later age. And I'm glad it did, because I'm seeing so many things with, I'm now aware of like my parents' divorce and stuff and like what happened. And I'm now aware with like, just like, with my broken engagement and stuff, I'm like, wow, I'm so glad these things, I mean, it sucks that my parents got divorced, but now I can see what not to do, like with how they handled things. And now I can see like with love and stuff. No, like now I know, that's not the kind of love that you get married on. That's not right. It's the kind of love that you just like skip around a small town with.
I've always thought that like I wanted to like learn from my parents in that kind of way, like what I didn't want to do or to be or to feel. Like that's like a huge learning opportunity. I actually had like a conversation last week with one of my friends, because we're like really into like just holistic healing and health right now, and food, and figuring out like what food does to your brain and certain foods, like what's good, blah blah blah. And I'm like really interested in like emotional healing and growth and like all things like mystical things. And I was just like, I'm so excited to kind of have a child, because not really right now, but I'm excited to have a child for the I don't know, to teach these things.
Yeah.
I mean, there's other reasons why I'm excited, but all the things that I didn't really have from a parent or as a child, I'm just excited to kind of be the parent that I like wanted or needed.
Yeah, I want to raise a good person, because they're hard to find. And, and I've always wanted to. I'm very much someone who wants to experience everything, and I don't know what having a child is like when it comes to love, and I hear people talk about it. I mean, it's obvious, like I love my dog, and I can't even imagine the magnitude of loving a child, and then for them to be able to teach you things, and then they just have you wrapped around your finger. I want all that.
Right. Like, yeah, like it's a different phase of your life.
Yeah.
Like it would be
it's
like,
an entire shift in your life.
And I want to experience that, which like this is kind of off topic, but I was also having a conversation, and I think it would be so cool to like have like a partner that I like love, and to go somewhere like in nature, tropical maybe, for like a month, and we just have like a strict like healthy diet, and our intention there would be to go like make a love child.
Cute.
Like just for a month.
Okay, so
and like you have it's like we're going here to do this.
Yeah, because having sex with the intention of creating another human has to hit a lot different.
Right. And I wanted, I don't know like my fertility status, but like I know people do like have trouble, and I don't really know much about this. But I was like, in my little head, I was like, maybe like if I'm like eating clean and stuff and like getting good sleep and no stress.
Well, yeah, no, that definitely. I think people do it for like, one of my Chrissy is like not she hasn't been smoking or drinking for months and months, and because they are like preparing to like do that. And I was just like, I think I stopped taking stuff like birth control like years ago, just because I was like, I don't want anything like that affecting whenever I'm ready to do those things. So
I mean, I was only on birth control for 6 months, but I mean, I've heard like that can really mess up your fertility. I've heard if you're on it for years.
Yeah, or like it'll prolong it, like it'll make it hard for you for like. But some people, I don't know. Everybody's different because some people get off it the next day they're pregnant. So it's like
that's
whatever.
True.
But anyway, back to co-parenting and everything. We have. Should we just jump into the episode? Because this one's good, y'all.
He is so entertaining. He's so captivating. Like
it's
this
so
is
lively.
Such a good episode to just listen to. Like he's amazing.
I know. The way he looks at things and the way he's very animated.
Mm-hmm.
It's perfect. And I think that you guys will really enjoy this one. So, yeah. Without further ado.
Oh, here we go.
Double clap. Okay.
We're back.
Hi, guys.
Today we have on Colin Ferguson.
Hello, everybody. Hello.
Hi, Colin.
Hi.
Colin, we got connected through Josh. Mm-hmm. And whenever he was talking to me about you, I was just like, would he even bother coming on to talk about all these things? And I'm really happy that you agreed. And you've been so lively about it.
I'm a lively person. I've been compared to a golden retriever most of my life.
Oh, cute.
Wow, okay.
No, it wasn't a compliment.
Oh, okay.
It was like, oh, you're exhausting.
Oh, damn. Oh, well, fuck, I thought about that.
Loyal, though.
Very loyal.
Yeah.
Very loyal. But
and liked by everybody. Who doesn't like a
for
golden
brief periods of time.
Yeah. Okay, well, introduce yourself. Tell us about you. Who are you?
All right. My name is Colin Ferguson, and I'm a dad. My son is about 8 years old, and I believe the subject matter of a portion of this podcast will be the parenting situation because my co-parent lives next door.
Oh, yes. Yes. Yep. And
Yeah.
you're also an actor.
Yeah, I think before we get into the co-parenting,
Sure.
I think we want to just know like about your career and your acting journey.
That led
Okay.
to co-parenting.
and your Maytag manness.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah, you're downplaying like a big chunk of you, and it's like, and all those things are that
like,
play so key
I'm
into
just a
to
dad.
co-parenting.
I'm a
Yeah,
guy.
my name is Colin, and I'm a dad. I'm also the Maytag Man, and in Vampire Diaries.
Yeah,
and
well-known, established actor.
Yeah, like damn. Yeah,
But I think that's telling. I think I identify as a dad, and the
I
other
love
stuff
that.
is my day job.
I love
So it's
that.
like I do that, and that's something I do for me and to pay the bills, and I love it. I'm not saying I don't. I absolutely love it, but first and foremost, I'm a dad, and we'll get into why that's an important statement later.
Cute.
Yeah.
Dang, I wonder, because right now I feel like, I'm a podcaster and a photographer. And then I'm like, whenever I have kids,
who
I'm going
are
to be
you?
like, oh, I'm a mom. And then those are.
Yeah, because it goes back to like you can have all of these titles, but like who are you?
Yeah.
Were you into acting first and then became a dad?
Oh yeah, I was. Well, I wasn't into acting at all, and to phrase it in sort of how I think about it, it's you choose what you're married to, and I think for most of my life, I was married to my job. I would have affairs with the women I was seeing, but I was married to my job, and I realized that that's a very LA thing.
It's so an LA thing.
Wait.
That's like what I'm stuck in with these men.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, wait, you're married to your job, but would have affairs with just
with girls
he was dating.
with my monogamous girlfriends. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, like work came first, and like girlfriends were kind of just like the affair. Like they were
that's
just kind
how-
of there.
Okay, so would it be like a workaholic situation, or like you were just so
No,
focused on
it
that?
was just like don't get in the way of work. Work goes first, and it took me
okay.
too long to realize that what you're married to is what works. So if you're married to your job, that's going to go great. But if you're not married to your partner, that's probably not, because they're only going to eat it for so long before
Right.
they're like. I even had a girlfriend say to me one time, she said, "I just think I can do better," and my answer was, "Yeah." Well, like probably. like,
You're like,
Actually,
yeah.
yeah. Well, I was working 16 hours a day, and I was out of town, and it was 6 days a week, and it was like, yeah, if you need anything, I can't do it.
Right.
Right. So when did you get into acting?
I was, how did I get into acting? I was a monumentally shy high schooler, and sort of my parents described me as like scared of my own shadow, which is not incorrect. What I didn't realize at the time.
It's crazy to be that way as a child to see you now. Like when you walked in, you're just so lively and commanding.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Yeah.
That's the energy I was scared of. Because it was a big energy, and I came from a place where we don't want to see you. You know, that was just it was in Canada.
Like too much. Like
And Canada and the South are very similar, where it's like there's behavior.
Yeah.
And people are like, Canadians are so nice. And it's like, they're not really.
But actually.
Yeah.
Okay, wait, so you're from Canada?
Yeah.
Okay. Keep going. Sorry.
I know, I'm burying the lead on all sorts of this stuff. So it was even like I was the kid who would cry in class once a week.
Aww.
Like if I had to speak in class, lights out. I could get about 20 seconds out, and then the walls would fall, and it was a bit of a mess. So I was in college, and I was doing college in Montreal, Canada, and a friend of mine said, I'd like you to come. We're going to go and improvise this morning. We're going to learn how to improvise. And I said, what's that? And he said, oh, you make up scenes in front of people. And I said, no. You know, that's, you know, but I didn't have much of a spine. So he said, oh, but you are coming. And I said, oh, that's unfortunate for me. So off we went.
Oh, okay.
Well, you know, that dynamic is like, oh, no,
You're
I
like,
guess I have
didn't have
to
a
do that.
backbone, so now I have to go do that.
No.
Okay, wow, yeah.
And I did one class, and they said, you're great. We want you to join the troupe and perform with us in bars.
One class and you just like nailed it?
I understood it.
Okay, because
Is-
I'm like,
this was
what
improv?
what happened to your like scaredness? Did you just?
I wasn't me.
You played a character.
I was characters.
Oh my gosh.
And they were like, oh, it's all
cute.
Yeah, they're like, oh, you're this character. It has to be character based. And I was like, oh, well, then I'm just sort of sending something up.
There's like a freedom in that.
Yeah, I could do that. I can make fun of things all day long. So I was like, yeah, okay, I can do that.
Wow.
And that camaraderie and that sort of like middling for all the headliners and being in bars and learning, you know, how to handle a Friday second show, you know, how belligerent they are and handling, and that gave me confidence.
So you started in comedy.
I did, yeah.
And started in improv, which is, people say that's kind of the hardest.
It's a thing.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a bunch of rules. It's if you follow them, you get better. It's like any muscle. You know, you'll figure it out.
What are the rules?
About listening, and every troupe is going to have their own sort of take on it. Yeah. Ours was a very game-based improvisation style. So even though we do straight scenes, we do a lot of games. And the games would have rules. And if you leaned on the rules, you're okay.
Yeah.
So
okay.
I'm a very rule-following sort of person. Like,
yeah.
I get confused when the rules don't get followed. I'm like, but
yeah.
Same.
yeah, but that wasn't the rule. You know, we said different.
To me, like freestyle rapping and improv are very similar. And
Do you freestyle rap?
I no, but I've been trying to.
What?
Well, I've
Wow.
just because I've learned like it scares me, and like people are around and you want it to rhyme and like sound good, but you cannot get in your head about it. You cannot think about it. You just have to just talk and let it flow. It's like almost like a little meditation practice where you just have to like go. And I find the same way with improv. You just have to go.
Yeah. If you're in your head, if you're tight, if you've got something holding you back, you're going to hit a wall all over the place.
You cannot get in
But
your
wow,
head.
are you at the point now? I'm not going to ask, but like, are you at the point now where you could just go and watch this and just sort of blow through the next?
And watch this. Honestly, one of my best friends makes music, and so we'll like freestyle together and we'll go back and forth. And he's like,
What?
He'll be like,
Wow.
"Damn, Lacey!" And I'm like, "Thanks."
Wow,
Lacey, I've never heard this. I'm sweating.
that's incredible.
But it's not
Is
like
there video?
it's not like me like being
I have
like
goosebumps.
serious like it's me like rapping about dumb shit
I
about
don't
like
care.
going to buy a car and like you know what I mean? It's
Right.
just anything that comes to mind.
Oh my
Right,
gosh.
that's incredible. That's a tough skill. That's a wow.
I'm
Yeah,
blown
so
away.
it's a practice. So
Yeah.
it's like something I've been. It's
So
a muscle.
if you could do that, you could improvise
yeah,
because it's a speed thing.
right. It is a speed.
Well, so then what? So you went from improv to
Tell us.
movies?
So the way that it worked for me
Give
is,
us your
I'm
journey.
I'm in college, and it's I forget what it is, the early 90s. And because I'm with this improvising group, we were performing about 5 days a week.
Okay.
And
Wow.
lots of shows. We were every night, and then we do an hour on, I think it was Sundays and Tuesdays. And just there was so much learning going on, and I was the youngest by far, and so all of them had agents and managers, and they went on auditions, and for years I was hearing about all this, this audition and this manager, and so learning how that part of it worked. And then Molly, one of the people who ran it, she worked as an assistant at an agency, and she said, well, why don't you come in at lunch and just start having lunch with me?
Wow.
And then the agents will get to know you. And I did that had to be 6 months.
Oh,
Just like dog with a bone, right? Just sitting there. And so eventually she said, okay, well, I'll side pocket you and we'll put you out for auditions.
Wow.
And so I ended up, actually before that, while that was going on, I went down to Detroit to visit my dad. And I woke up in the morning and there was a newspaper he left on my cereal bowl. And he said, oh, they're auditioning for Second City downtown. Isn't that funny? And so I was like, oh. So I jumped on a bus and I went downtown and got it.
Wow.
So there were, I don't know, thousands of people who were auditioning, but it was probably more of a PR stunt than an actual searching.
Oh, okay.
okay.
Yeah, just to get a little
Oh,
buzz.
I
Yeah.
didn't even think about that being a PR thing. There's so much I don't know in
Marketing.
this world. Yeah.
Well, yeah, right. Like we're going local and it's going to be homegrown and
Really, they pretty much already have the ideas. of
Well,
what
I'm
they
sure
want.
they look at your resume and they know who they would risk and who they wouldn't. And so I had so much experience at that point. I'd won, our group had won, I think, the Just for Laughs Festival twice, which was an improvised festival in Montreal. So we obviously knew what we were doing. And so ultimately I did that for 6 months.
Wow.
Dang.
Yeah.
Okay.
So when did you move to Los Angeles?
I was side pocketed with the agent, and they sent me out for an audition, and for a small part in this movie, and it was like one of those weird Hollywood stories. He goes, "Huh, you're not right, but would you read for this? It's the lead of the movie," and I did it and got it. So
This sounds like too
Yeah.
perfect.
yeah,
Wow.
right.
Like this sounds like too easy.
And the weirdest thing was it was a monologue that was like, I don't have this skill, but it was like half a page or 3/4 of a page. I read it once and had it. Read it once, had it, did the thing, and it just was all there.
Do you just like completely change, like?
In that moment, everything locked in.
Did you get every word, or when you understand story, like you can tell repeat the story?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it was it fit in my mouth,
Wow.
which is one of those things. You can get a great scene, but if it doesn't fit in your mouth, you're like, it's not my part.
Right.
I can't. You can acknowledge it's a great scene, but you're like,
Wow.
that doesn't. But
It
it
doesn't
just
fit.
Yeah, it just fit. I knew it. I was it. He saw it and got it.
You're the poster child for why people have big dreams and like go to
Right.
Hollywood. Like they're like, well, mom, I want to be an actress,
move
and
to
what,
LA.
if I read this script, and then maybe they'll find like you are the reason people do
Yeah.
this. Like, damn.
Well, you just keep waiting for people to say no, right?
Uh-huh.
And if it keeps working, you're like, well, I guess I should keep doing this.
Right. That's
You know?
how, like with photography, I feel like when you're made to do something, it kind of it not necessarily falls into your lap, but your path just keeps kind of morphing to that
Opening
direction.
easy.
And you're
Yeah.
just like, well, this
Yeah.
is fun. So,
Like, I
I'm
mean,
gonna-
for you to go to an improv class and your, anxiety goes away and then you're brought onto the team immediately, that's kind of like a gift that was like, hey, you're meant to do this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
there's so many projects or careers that people go in and they have so much anxiety doing them that they don't know if they're even supposed to be doing that. But I feel like, if your anxiety can just kind of go away with what you're working on like that, and it'll just like click. It's like, damn,
Your
should
body
really-
knows.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I always felt out of control in my life and had a really difficult time socially because I always had so much energy. and I knew it wasn't appropriate. So I was always sort of bottlenecking my energy, and I just felt in control on stage. I just felt calm.
Wow.
Like I know the British used to teach manners with stage work because it's a presentation. And I think that would have been handy for me as a kid to know that this is all presentation. This is new. So that division would have been calming to understand.
Yeah.
Instead of fit into the box, this is just what the box is. So do this for a bit and then we'll go home.
Yeah.
You know.
Dang, I never thought about it like that. Like having like, or like etiquette or like as social situations is like a presentation or like in that way. That's could be super helpful for people if they could put themselves in that mindset.
It is a presentation. I mean, even think about like the way we get dressed up for certain events.
It's a presentation.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
At what point in the acting career, like what role did you land that you realized like, oh, this is it? Like this is like the biggest role that I've landed, or like this is what I'm going to be doing. This is taking off, I guess.
There was a bunch through the years because as you'd get something and it would mean something, and then years later you'd get something else and you're like, oh, this means something else.
Yeah.
You know, I had no clue what I was doing. I wish I had had a better relationship with men because I really could have used a mentor, but I always had a complicated relationship because of how I grew up with that.
Yeah.
So I would have been more open to learning.
What was that like with you growing up? Like was it like with your dad or something?
Yeah, it was maybe the era. It was my way or the highway type thinkers.
Right.
This is the way it is, and if you disagree, well, why are you asking me questions?
That's how my dad is. He's
Yeah.
like, if you disagree with me, then you're disrespecting me, and you're not allowed to do that.
Yeah. So you learn quite young. The path of least resistance is agreement.
Right.
So you just and you don't really develop critical thinking and who you are in a sense.
This is such a like pattern. We just had like a trauma specialist come on, and
Oh,
it's
really?
just like it's so important how you raise your kids.
So important.
Damn. Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
And going back to learning about stuff with my little guy, I've been on him that there's the 10,000 hour rule. Like if you want to be a master at something, it takes 10,000 hours.
Wow.
Period.
Wow.
So
What does that usually equate to?
I don't know, but it's like Marshall McLuhan or something. I don't know, some famous name.
You mean like in days?
Yeah, because we just said yesterday, we were like, it usually takes about 3 years no matter what you're doing for something to really like be grounded and kind of start to take off, like in any business, podcast, 3 years.
Small, because they say small businesses usually fail within 3 years.
Right.
And then after, if you're past that, things can still happen, but you pretty much have it, you're good to go. So I wonder what 10,000 hours is. And
well, for him, it was just the idea that I'll always be there. You'll always do it with someone because you'll never be like, we got this. And so you just have to be really interested. Because if you're not interested, you're not going to do 10,000 hours.
Yeah.
So find something you're interested in to do your 10,000 hours.
that's a really good rule.
Yeah,
Wow.
and then we just try to have fun, you know. He's 8. I'm not overloading him.
Oh, yeah. In my head, he's older.
No,
He's like 16. But I know nothing.
Talked to him for 5 minutes. He is 16.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm constantly being corrected.
Well, then what were to go back to what I asked, like, what were your major, or what were, God, Jesus, what were the roles that stick out to you that were really impactful for your career?
In the 8th grade.
You were the moon, and
No,
then
I was too shy to do the school play, but the teacher, again, I was dutiful, right? And I was obedient. So she's like, "Oh, I'd like you to be the reader for the auditions." And I was like, "Okay." So, like nothing was ever a problem, right? I was like, "Okay." So I was doing that, and I was just killing this one character. And she said, "Oh, I'm going to cast you as that character." And again, I was like, "Oh no, this isn't going to be good for me." So I did it, and there was a moment when I was on stage doing it, and I had them. I was like, "And laugh here," and it was just like I had a control to it that I knew, and it resonated, and I was like, "Oh, that was a huge moment."
Wow.
For me.
Okay.
Then getting the first role that we just sort of. And there were little roles along the way that were just Like you just learn, like you say, like it takes 3 years. I did this first role I think I got was there was a love scene and we had to run across the room and kiss. And she'd never done it and I'd never done it. So we're like, I guess we both better really run. So we both ran. We crashed into, as she cut my lip, we like crashed into each other's faces. And we're just sort of like, oh, we're very young at this. We're just learning. But all the stuff you go through, right? Mm-hmm. Then when I moved to LA, I think within 6 months I got a pilot. And that was a huge deal because the pilot didn't go, but it got me on lists.
Right.
I've always looked older. Mm-hmm. So I was 23 playing a 35-year-old detective with an 11-year-old.
Oh, wow.
Wait, whoa.
Yeah. I'd always looked like mid-30s.
Okay.
So it was weird.
Oh, okay.
And I was, it's like one of those things in Hollywood where I look the part until you see me next to someone who's actually 35.
Yeah.
And then you're like, oh, he's great. Unless it's real.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
he's completely ridiculous.
Yeah, there's like Hollywood's age groups and then reality.
Yeah.
Wow, yeah.
And then there's all sorts of little ones if you want me to keep going. But
Well, no, I mean, I just wanted, whatever was the most impactful, like, yeah.
all right, well, there was a silly movie I did where it was a merging of two worlds. It was I was doing a movie of the week, and the director said, we're going to play it loose. So I need you to improvise. Because I'd always thought if someone bothered to write something down, well, that's like Shakespeare.
Right.
They've bothered to use paper and ink. Like, it must be gold.
Like, don't offend the writer.
Yeah, like again, dutiful, right, and obedient. And I was like, so every word was perfect, and I was as wooden and awful. There's no ship I wouldn't go down with, right? Like I just sucked in so much stuff. So this one thing, and he said, just improvise it. And I needed to give myself permission for a couple minutes. I was like, am I allowed to? So I did it, and then watching it, it worked. And that was the first time I connected sort of personal resonance to good quality work. And I was like, oh, I know when it's good. And that was the first time when I was like, oh, and I needed that moment.
Like reassurance.
Yeah, to have success later.
Yeah. Do you find yourself like improvising now in your work, or do you have to like ask permission to do that?
I sort of had to redefine what it was, because also writers have egos. So there's if you say you're improvising it, that's a no.
Yeah.
But if you say, hey, I just need a ramp to get into this line, I'm just gonna say this, and he's like, yeah, that's fine. But if you say I'm gonna improvise, no, that's not fine. So you use little subterfuge.
How do people deal with Jim Carrey then? Like, 'cause isn't like all he does is like mostly improv and scripts and stuff?
Sure, I would imagine that he greenlights it, so
Okay.
everyone gets out of the way, right?
Yeah. Have you ever had to film a sex scene?
Tons.
How are they filmed? I've always wanted to know.
It depends on they're filmed in a couple different ways. Back in the day and now. Now it's about as weird as it could possibly be.
Oh my God, really? So tell us the old and then tell us the new.
Okay, back in the day, what I would do is I would get together with the actress and I would say, okay, what are your needs? Like, what do you want me to do? How do you want to play this? This is more your thing than mine. So, and some would say, don't touch me. Some would say, get your hand on my breast and don't take it off. And I was like, right.
Interesting.
They don't want their nipples shown.
Oh, I mean, is that not coordinated with like the network or like producers?
Well, in the edit, they sort that out.
Oh, okay.
But she's just like, I don't want the footage to exist.
Oh, wow.
So some of them would, you take black gaffer's tape and they put an X over their nipples and then you put your hand over the X. And so it's really funny to be told, like, don't take it off. And you're like, yes, ma'am. That is what happened.
I'll hold this titty forever.
Yeah, exactly. And cut. So some would want it very controlled and sorted out, and others would say, I don't really care. Let's just make out for a bit and call it a day. And I'm like, okay. But I would always throw it to the lady because I'm not sure. The last thing I would want to do is to do something and have her recoil, and then I'm like, ah,
yeah, because when you get to that point, it's like, oh God.
Yeah. And it's funny because I didn't realize how abusive it was until all the Me Too
Oh, wow.
stuff came out. And I was like, oh, wow. They've been dealing with that through the years.
Yeah, whoa.
So
Well, how is it now in comparison?
the pendulum has swung. So now there's an intimacy coordinator. So you each have separate talks with someone who outlines the choreography of what's going to happen. With COVID, before the scene, you each gargle with a nasty antiseptic that kills anything in the mouth.
Oh.
And you each have rapid tests in the PCR tests in the morning, then rapid tests before the scene, and then you go in and do it. And so it's super unsexy. Like you couldn't feel less like a petri dish. Like
Wow.
yeah.
But okay. So I have a weird question.
Sure.
But when you're filming those scenes, do you get like?
Are
turned
y'all all
on?
naked? Are you or like or is anything covered?
Well, I did a show where there was going to be a lot of nudity recently, probably in the last, I don't know, 3-4 years. And I remember for 2 days walking into my trailer, and my wardrobe for the day was a flesh-colored cinch sack.
A cinch sack
A sack that cinches.
Like a.
for your
Like you'd store doubloons in like the 18th century, like a little like
and
purse that
you couldn't even wear it around your hips.
No.
Oh, and so that's what they give males.
Mm-hmm.
And are women wearing underwear?
It depends on what they're planning to see.
Right.
It could just be taped.
Oh,
You know, like a triangular tape job. They put one of those on me once. Men should not wear those. We have all sorts of like the getting off of that particular
No.
was
painful.
bit of a violation.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wait, so I want to go back. Do you ever get turned on during these scenes? And if
No.
so, like, what do you do? Oh. Okay.
I mean, you're surrounded by the crew. You know, like you've got the sound guy, you've got the camera guy, you've got the director, and my job is to sort of stay out of her light. It's quite tricky, to be honest, because you can't just
Because
like,
it's more about the woman.
well, yeah, and you don't want to run in like an octopus and be like, you know,
Come here.
exactly, like I'm so sexy. Like,
Oh my God. Okay.
if you're kissing and like those are the lights, I've got to if it's my shot, I got to make sure her head doesn't go past that, or if it does, I got to like it's getting out of the light.
So technical.
So technical.
What if you're like attracted to them? Does it kind of get better?
Yeah, I mean that your heart can race.
Okay.
You know, sometimes.
But it's still that like
Yeah.
technical things.
For me, I need to know that I can get turned on if she's attracted to me.
Okay.
You know, like if I feel that I couldn't get if she's feeling that it's super technical and this is her day job, there's zero chance.
Right.
I'd be like, okay, well then I'm
That's
you
true.
know, but if I feel something coming from her and like, oh, maybe we're going to be a couple, then like, yeah, that's really exciting.
Cute. Have you ever like had a scene like that with someone and then you guys ended up dating for a little bit?
Yeah, more than a couple times. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
wow.
So that is
Yeah.
a thing.
It is a thing. Well, you break down a wall, right?
Yeah.
You're like, wow.
pretty fast.
like-
Okay.
Want to get lunch? Like, cool. Like,
Well, has it ever gone into something where it's been technical and then you start kissing and you're like, oh, you feel that spark and then you,
Yeah.
wow, okay.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
I've
But
always wanted to know.
Yeah, but there's also like there was here's a funny one. I haven't dated in a long time, and because of my son, that was not something that was on the table when he was born. Just from me, I couldn't.
Yeah.
So I get this role, and I have to do these sex scenes, and it's been a long time, you know. And I had this genuine fear that I was going to be, in the scene, and the director was going to be like, cut, and all the crew is going to be like. Huh? Like, and I was like, it's been a while. It's been a while. Like, that I was going to be doing something that was so wrong.
Oh, wow.
Oh my God. I just picture drawing his arms like a little octopus or something. Holding them.
No one does it like that.
Oh my God.
Times have changed.
So are there any lessons that you've learned in your time as an actor? Like any like important things that
Or
Sure.
advice you'd give
Yeah.
someone wanting to.
Yeah, one of the most important things is, and I talk to young actors and try to communicate with them, especially if they're just starting out. don't empower someone else. When you're like, learn to do a scene. Obviously, you don't know out of the gate, and that's fine. But learn to do a scene, and then think to yourself, how did I do? Where did I really kill it? Where did I miss? What do I need to improve? If you can develop that voice, because you're the only one who's going to be with you on set. So develop that voice, because that's going to help you as you go along. And then you have a real barometer for if you're pleasing yourself in your journey as an artist in what you do. Because if you're relying on everybody else all the time to tell you if you're good, as we all know, that's a really dangerous prospect. So that's one. And the second, super technical, second camera comes in when you're on your mark, and they put a mark down. For those who don't know what a mark is, it's a line and then a line this way, like a T. You put 1 foot on one side, 1 foot on the other. That's only for camera. You got to think about your mark as a dot, because it's a focus mark. It's a dot. But wherever this person puts down the tape, you will find actors inevitably standing toe on the line, toe on the line. It's just the assistant camera guy who's putting the line down. You should see the center of that as a dot, so you can do this. You can be this way.
So people try and be like straight, like exactly on the T, but that's just like, hey, like,
Wow.
you just gotta stand there and be natural.
And then it turns into models on marks, because everyone gets super wooden, right? They're like, I'm on my mark, and you're like, yeah, but that's not how you'd be. You might be like this, you might be like that.
That's not natural.
Yeah.
I was not expecting you to give such good advice like that. Like
Is that like a common mishap in the?
I see it every set.
Wow.
I see it because
he's ready to get the message out there, people.
Well, it's not laziness. It's just habit. There's my mark. Okay, you stand on your mark, but you don't think, is this where I want my mark to be?
Yeah.
Is this maybe I want this foot more forward? Maybe,
Is it just maybe a fear of like not wanting to disappoint or mess up? Like,
I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's you assume that they've put it exactly where you were. But I just see people not moving again once they're in that spot.
Wow.
Yeah.
Good to know.
Yeah. And also, it's like sports. Any sport you play, the coach will say, like, it's all in your knees. It's all, like, bend your knees. Like, if you start getting wooden, you start standing up straight playing tennis or whatnot, you mess everything up. So just get in your body.
Yeah.
So if you hit that mark and don't move, it's going to just be in your head. You want to keep it in your body.
I think a thing I've been saying recently is get out of your mind and into your body.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. That's huge.
Yeah, you just have to let it flow.
Mm-hmm.
But I think now, do we want to start talking about Maytag?
Sure. I do want to ask you about, before we get into dating, like, because I feel like the Maytag Man is such a iconic thing for you. I mean,
that's
like,
pretty neat.
Yeah. How did that happen?
They approached me. I tried to do commercials for years, and I was dating a woman at the time, and she said, "How's it going?" And I said, "Well, I've been doing it for about a year, and I've had I think 2 or 3 callbacks." And she goes, "Oh, so not well, huh?" I didn't understand that callbacks are like everyone gets callbacks, and that if you're not getting any callbacks, you're really not good at it. So I didn't want to waste the time driving and whatnot.
Yeah.
So I just sort of gave it up. So when this came around 15 years later, they said, "We think we want you to be the Maytag Man." And I said, "Nah, no, you don't." That's unlikely. Flattering, but it's not likely. And they sent this sort of dream sheet of who the guy was a combination of. And I was like, oh, you might want me. It was a weird group of guys. It was like somewhere in between Mike Rowe from Dirty Jobs, Nick Offerman, Tom Selleck, and all these guys. I was like, yeah, I'm somewhere in between that.
A little mix.
Yeah, I look like I've been, ridden hard and put away wet. And, so I fit some of that mold.
Yeah.
Oh my God. I'm going to definitely steal that. Well, okay, so what does being the Maytag mean for our younger audience?
Okay. Well, it is, I looked into it first, and I wasn't sure if I was going to do it. And a buddy of mine said, hey, Ashton Kutcher is doing a YouTube thing down in the YouTube space in Culver City. So why don't you come down and hear him talk? you know, and I was like, yeah, okay, that sounds good. So I think he was doing Lenovo. He was like a Lenovo spokesman or something.
Oh, I remember that moment.
Yeah, for like half a second, right?
Yeah.
And so he didn't do it tongue in cheek, and he didn't do it, you know, like a cool guy. He just did it very honestly, and I was like, and I didn't resent him for it. So I was like, oh, this does work. You can do this. And I watched TV that night. It seemed like everybody was doing it. So, and then I looked into the company to answer your question, and they are the last, because they're owned by Whirlpool. Whirlpool is the last appliance maker in the United States.
Oh, what?
They're all gone.
Why?
Samsung's overseas, LG's overseas, Electrolux is overseas. So Whirlpool is Maytag, Genair, KitchenAid, and Whirlpool.
Okay.
And that's it. So I was like, I can get behind that.
Oh, yeah.
We're like, we have one left.
Wow.
And that sounds silly, but like, I don't think that should leave. We should have an appliance maker here in the continent.
Look at you.
know?
Yeah.
Cute
So that's one of the
answer.
reasons why you agreed to do it?
Well, I wanted to make sure they weren't some super nefarious,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Because there's so many companies who are like, oh, they're not good.
Yeah.
So I signed on, and it's been one of the greatest creative collaborations I've done.
Wow.
Yeah. So
Are you
what
still
does
doing
it look like?
By the
What
way,
is-
it's so weird to say the word collaboration because the last time I heard it on this podcast was with the OnlyFans thing. And I was
Oh,
like,
you listened to that one?
yeah, I did. Yeah. So I was like, oh, different collab.
Different collab. That's so funny.
We also had a porn star on, and she talked about different collabs too.
Wow.
Yeah. What is being, how many years have you been doing this? How consistent is it? Like what all comes out? Is it just commercials, print? Like
It's
what contract is what
yeah,
does it look like?
It was super weird. When we started doing it, they said like, here's the contract. And it was like they'd pulled it out of a vault from 1950. You know, just like pulled this contract off. and then like, it was so weird. Some of the language, we were like, what is this? I believe in the first draft, there was a line like, you can't do porn. And I was like, if we need to write that down, like you're in okay.
Yeah.
We went back and forth, and they were reasonable the entire time. I was like, look, any mistake that I will make, I've probably already made. You know, I'm not at a place where I'm going to do something so dumb that it tanks the thing. So I've been doing it for 8 years. They just came out last week, and they said, oh, we'd like to do another contract. So that's great.
Wow.
I guess it's about, I work 6-7 days a year on it. You were so happy with that response.
No.
Like, that's awesome.
I mean, because commercials pay so much money, and to work for only a week out of the year, you're fucking
so it's just-
set.
It's
Yeah.
just a week out of the year. It's not like multiple times throughout the year.
Oh no, it's I think they have I don't know how many service days, probably 12 service days that they can use any which way they want. And I would give them more if they needed it. I'm not the guy who's going to be like 13, tough luck. you know? Like Ferguson out.
You have to be a dream for or people that want to be creating things like this. You're very easygoing, I feel like, and just like again, you bring in an energy that's very like easygoing and nice to be around. So you
Thanks.
have to be nice for especially appliance companies to come in and work with.
I hope so. I heard so many horror stories, and they told me so many horror stories, and it's baffling. You know, like people, they'll pay some celebrity and some atrocious amount of money, and they show up 3 hours late, and they're like, what?
Yeah, it's
And you're like, that's a bunch of human beings who've been sitting around waiting for you to get there.
Yeah.
Like, it's so weird.
I know. It's
Why do
weird how
people do
act.
that?
I can't even understand. Like, what else are you doing? You're in a foreign city.
Right.
You're in a hotel room. You're having your Nespresso. Like, let's have another.
It's
Everyone's
weird.
waiting.
And
Yeah.
I think about it, I'm like, would that be like, maybe they have anxiety, but then I'm also like, no, because usually when I've had to deal with things like that, when they arrive, they're not very kind either,
Yeah.
So I'm like, well, at least, have anxiety, but be nice.
Yeah.
Don't be like, what? Like, oh, you guys are waiting on me,
Well, they say that people who are passive aggressively late all the time, it's a way that they take control back in their life.
Oh.
And so
I don't, ugh. Okay.
but it's one of those things like, okay, well, let's let's come to terms with that then.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
so
let's work on that.
ballsy as something to take control over your life. Like, that's fucking ballsy because you're dealing, especially when it comes to your fucking career. Like,
Yeah.
well, you don't mess with other people.
Yeah.
You know, like, be respectful.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I have trouble not showing up too early. Right, because it's like if I had to be here at 11 today, so like that's the only thing on my mind from like 9 a.m. on. I'm like, do I leave now? Do I leave now? you know?
There's that golden retriever.
Yeah, exactly.
How about now?
I could go get coffee for everybody. I know they're vegan. I could get vegan snacks. Like, like I got like, no, you don't want snacks because then no sound on the mic.
Cute. Oh my gosh. Okay, so coming up in your career, how has dating been for you? Like being an actor.
Interesting.
Yeah, just over the years, how was dating? How is dating now? I know you said it was like having an affair with work.
When I was doing it wrong, I would date people, but my career was so important to me that I always had the career first. And I think the relationship suffered for that and other reasons, which I'll get to when we talk about parenting. I learned a lot from my son that I would love to port over to a relationship at some point. He's made me a better person than I could ever. So
I've heard that children can really teach you a lot.
A ton. And I'm very vocal with him about thanking him for that. So
Wow.
yeah. So so dating, it was weird to come up and I always dated actresses because that's who I was at work with, and never ever was it competitive or jealous. I've heard those dynamics, which I don't even understand.
Right.
I mean, you're different sexes for one.
Right.
You're not going for the same part.
Right.
But even for my buddies, what I miss most right now about no auditioning in person is those guys in the room who I've seen for 20 years. Like, they're my rock. I'll go in and it'll be Jamie there. I'm like, oh my God, how you doing? How are the kids? And, and it's those bunch of guys that we're all still there. It's nice to see that they're still there. I've never experienced competition in that way from the male side of it. I understand from my actress friends that the female side can be weird. Like some gals can get super, most of them are super cool, but some of them get super weird.
Wow.
So dating was always great. I met people on my jobs, and I sort of a serial monogamist. We date for years, and then they could do better, and they would go off and do as they do.
Did you ever date not an actress?
Yeah, and that was probably one of the better relationships I had too.
Why is that?
She was just phenomenal, just great, and I blew it. I was in the middle of a show. The show, it was called Eureka, and it went for 6 years. So. And I was the guy. So I didn't understand that I had been living with massive anxiety my whole life. And then you put me in the machine of a network, and we were the hit on the network. So it was, and that just sort of amped everything up.
A lot of pressure.
Yeah. Yeah. So I just would crumble or snap or all the things that anxiety make you do.
Yeah.
When did you... I don't know if were you ever, you were married, right?
No.
Oh, okay.
Google will tell you that I was.
Okay.
Yeah, if you Google me, it'll say that I've been married, and I've been married since 2012.
Yeah, because
Google is spreading rumors.
Yeah.
And how did that happen? And why does Google care?
I don't know. They're also for a long time like, he's 5'11". It's like, I'm not. I'm over 6 feet, but that's okay.
Wow,
Interesting.
damn.
That's really fucked
Who's in
up.
charge of that?
I don't know.
Damn. Well, okay, then when did you, I guess, where were you at in your career when you just had a child, I guess? I had done the show. The show had completed, and I was... Eureka?
Yeah.
Okay.
And I was dating my co-parent now, and the relationship wasn't going great, and she became pregnant. So we decided to see if we could make it work. She moved in and such. And that's a difficult thing to do because you're dealing with pregnancy brain, which is real. Then you're dealing with breastfeeding brain, which is real, and potentially postpartum depression, which is real. And so you're never sure, is this relationship not working, or is this not the person that's going to be there in a year. You know, you're never quite sure. And also, you're both monumentally sleep deprived. And so.
Well, how long had you two been together before she got pregnant?
12 months.
Okay.
Not long.
So, okay,
Yeah.
So was it good before or like, did you have to like think back on like the whole 12 months to pull you through the times when you had pregnancy brain and the breastfeeding brain and then the postpartum? And
no, because it wasn't like it was this dream relationship. We were just sort of seeing like, let's see if we can make it work. And I'd known her for a long time, so to pull me through was more the friendship that we'd had for years. And she's a great person. Like, I see so many friends, and I'm sure you guys know people who are leveraged by their partner emotionally or otherwise, and they're just under the gun constantly. She's a great person. So I'm so lucky. For some people say, oh, it's a shame you guys aren't together. It's like, I'm lucky.
Yeah.
It is, you know, it's going to be what it's going to be.
Yeah.
Wow, okay.
Have you, I mean, now your son is 8, you said. Have you guys ever like wanted to try to make it work again?
I think through quarantine, I may have tried. I was like, well, you know, we're both stuck here. So, like,
Might as well.
I have an idea. Yeah, have another whiskey.
Well, how was the lifestyle like with trying to raise a family, acting, baby?
It could be crazy. She's brilliant that way. She likes it nothing more than when I go out of town. So
that works out great.
Yeah, I mean, and we've sort of set it up in a way that's incredibly supportive. I'll explain what our living situation is. We have 2 houses. They're next to each other. The houses are about 150 feet apart on separate streets. So I can't see her come and go. She can't see me come and go. I can't see her house from anywhere in my house because of the trees. Same vice versa.
Oh.
I put in coded locks on the back door so we never need a key. We just wander back and forth all day through the 150 feet. And it makes for a very livable way to go. Wow. You know, so even though we're next door, it's not like we're 3 feet apart yelling through windows. You know,
when did that when did that decision happen to like, because usually if people separate and then they don't want to live anywhere near each other.
Yeah.
Where did this co-parenting, or where did this come from? Idea?
Laziness.
Who inspired you? Oh, great. Actually, that's amazing.
So I'll have to drive then? Or
I'll just like walk. Wow, that's amazing.
Well, it came from, I think, the gift of having a child when you're older is that I've had my time. I'm not looking, it's not like I'm having a child in my 20s where it's still sort of about me, you know, and I'm like, I need stuff that I need to figure out. So we had him, and my folks got divorced when I was young. And I remember when my sister was getting married, she was 25. My dad went on to have 2 more boys. My mom went on to have 2 more girls. And it was at my sister's wedding. I look over to the church, and my entire family's standing there. And I could feel the world sort of like turn a bit. I had never, ever seen them with my eyes all together.
Oh.
In my life.
I don't think I've seen that from my end either.
And if you ever see them all together, it'll be a trip in your head for a moment where you're like, wow, this is everybody. And that stuck with me as, that's not great. you know, like so clearly the kids' reality in that era was not as important as the parents. They had their issues, and they were gonna, you know, do their thing, and the kids we'd shuttle back and forth.
Yep.
And that I wanted to do differently than that. There's so many versions at that. Like some people use nesting.
What's that?
It's crazy. There's one house where the child lives, and the parents go in and out.
The child has their own house?
Yeah, and the parents, like one parent will live there with the child for a week, and then another parent will live there. And I was like, wow.
Weird.
So there's 3 houses that they all live, and they bounce back and forth. And I was like, that doesn't work for me.
Yeah, no.
Like that.
That's weird.
Yeah. So this one seemed like reasonable. Like in the morning, I'll go over for 7 to wake him up. I let myself in. We wander into his bedroom. You know, we're like, morning, you know, and I'll lie on one side and she'll lie on the other. And we're like, morning, bug, you know, and we'll wake him up. And he's like, you know, and doesn't, but it's super intimate in that way.
Has this ever been messy?
I would say no more than marriages, and like the number of people over the course of like lockdown and quarantine were like, okay, so how does this 2-house thing work? Just like, you know, because
they were interested in it.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, as far as dating goes, like, has she had partners where you've had to be like, oh, you can't come in at 7?
Neither one of us has dated for about 6 years.
What?
Why?
When he's young, like before he's 3, I don't know how anyone can date. Like, it's all hands on deck. He's up at 6 in the morning. You know, like, it's just a blitz. And we actually lived in the same house for 4 years together when we weren't a couple.
Oh.
Just because it was so hard. It was so hard. I could picture dating now, and she desperately wants me to date. She's like, "Go date." You know. I bring up a woman's name. She's like, "She sounds nice." I was like, "All right, I get it." So we haven't had to deal with that in a way where someone wanted to stay over. We haven't had to deal with that. But
when you guys were living together for the 4 years and you weren't together, were you all sleeping in the same bed together though?
No, she slept downstairs. He slept downstairs. I slept upstairs.
Wow. Oh, wow. Okay. Did you like that? When was the shift to be like, oh, let's get a house like right over there? Was it when it came like for sale or?
Yeah. Well, the man who lived there passed away, and his partner, who's a lovely guy who I'm still emailing with regularly, Tom. He's
emailing with?
Yeah,
Cute.
Yeah. Well, Tom lives in Florida, so I check on him, and he sends us Christmas gifts. He's the best.
Good old Tom.
Good old Tom, right? So it became available, and I thought this is great with an eye to do it, and then I think it was ultimately me who said, okay, I think I had the house for a year and a half or 2 years. And I said, okay, either you've got to move in now or I sell the house. I can't. This isn't working. I'm not going to hold it for no reason. So she decided to move in, and it was great.
How has your son responded to it?
He loves it.
Wow.
Like responded to this situation with the 2 houses, or how do you explain this to him that you're not together, but
it's his normal.
Yeah.
So there's sort of nothing to explain. As we more have to explain, did you know there are families where the parents sleep in the same bed? And he's like, that sounds crowded. Where he's like, we have to explain that's a thing. And I was like, no, it's like you with your stuffies. He's like, oh,
your stuffies.
Yeah.
He
has 10,000 stuffed animals that he like.
Do you ever like have to? Well, I'm thinking about, because we just had someone on kind of talking about this, but like, if him not seeing you too intimate together, would that, or do you show if like?
I hug her. I kiss her head. If I come over, I'll put my arm around her. I mean, if we're sitting, I'll sit next. Oh my Lord! If I sit next to her on the couch, this has been since he was like 6 months old. No, he's like he shoves his butt like right in between us. He's like, I sit here.
Oh, that's good.
He's always sits directly in the middle.
So he does see you two together, and yeah. Wow, that's great. I was gonna ask about that because I'm like, that's like
children like learn love, or like they pick up on things, right?
And learn love through their parents. Wow.
Well, what I've sort of come to, which is what I want to port over, is like the relationship with her is so good. It's so civil. If it had other elements to it, I think it could work. So I've learned that, to base a relationship in love, it's pretty precarious. I mean, love, all's fair, love and war. There's a fine line between love and hate. Love comes and goes. No one's been in a relationship who hasn't looked at the person they love and think like, oh, if they just fucking passed out for 6 hours, I'd be so happy. I'm so sick of them. right. Like everybody has a thing. But if you base a relationship in respect and civility, like a workplace, it lasts. It's made to last. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I really, that's something that it's not about me getting what I want or her getting what she wants. It's like, no, let's be respectful first and foremost, because that.
Yeah, I like that.
Someone like that a lot too.
Told me, their therapist kind of told this to them, that yes, you can have these like intense, very passionate relationships or connections. But, you know, when you're thinking about marriage operates like a business, especially like when you bring children into it. Like how, like there's so many things other than just like passion and love that go into making a full-on operating like marriage.
Yeah.
If you are looking into marriage, but like things like that, there's more than just a connection that needs to happen.
I think that's right on the money.
Yeah.
I think that's 100%. I think love is so perfect for dating. It's just like, I love you. Now I love you.
Yeah.
You know, and you're like, it's amazing. But you're right. It's a business. It's
Right.
and it sounds like it's a step down, but it's not. It's a
No.
step up. You're stepping into this world of like, oh, civility. And I think if you want to talk about marriage, you got to go back to when it was created, right? Like, you didn't have water piped in. You didn't have refrigerators. You didn't have food. Like, somebody goes off to work, they could die. You mess up the food, everyone dies. You know, so a union, like when your grandparents were talking about, they're like, oh, it's the crossroad of like gratitude and respect. Like, that is love.
Yeah.
And I think that's really important.
Yeah, that is so important. That's why like things that can stem from friendships, like because friendships usually start with like a level of like deep respect for the other person. Like, I like that vibe.
Yeah, totally. So and love, it has to be there, obviously. I'm
Right.
not saying, but it comes and goes. And if you only drop to a level of respect, that's pretty great. That's a good floor.
Right.
You know.
Yeah.
That is a good floor. That is the floor.
Yeah. Yeah.
that needs to be the floor.
Yeah.
That was like a hard thing for me in dating. I was engaged over
Oh,
a
wow.
year ago, and
Does Josh know?
yes, he does.
Okay.
But in dating, in that relationship and prior, you know, respect was never something that I thought about. And I didn't realize that was the underlying issue of what I had with these people. Like, I didn't have respect for them. Like, I
Right.
respected them as people and like as you would with anybody, but as far as like the business part of a intense relationship, that was not there because I was the one always like taking care of them or like paying and like
Right.
being the breadwinner and like building careers for them and doing all these things. And so whenever that ended, and because I didn't respect them, it is the reason why things would end, because it's how you it would change how you talk to people. Like, you're meaner whenever you argue. You don't care
Right.
as much whenever
Yes.
you argue, and the relationship just deteriorates into just
There's
it's
like
just awful.
underlying resentment there.
Right.
Yeah.
And so whenever I became single and like through dating, that was the one thing I was like, whoever it is that I'm with next, seriously, I need to respect them so much. So that was like my main driving force. And I just didn't realize how different a relationship could be when you really, really, really respect somebody, which is so
Yeah.
sad.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, damn.
Well, you figured it out. And
Yeah.
you figured it out young, which is great.
Yeah, and I would consider, I would think that I would need to have figured this out sooner.
Maybe you didn't know that from your parents. I don't know.
Again,
Oh,
yeah.
Well, but it's Hollywood, right? Like, Hollywood's got great storytelling it's easy storytelling. You fall in love, it's perfect, it's over. Like, that's the through line to an action movie, to
Right.
a rom-com. It's the same thing, and it doesn't actually ever address, because movies aren't terribly challenging anymore, the reality of what you need. Like, I remember talking to my younger sister. She's 12 years younger than I am, and she was 20 at the time, and I'm like, this is going to sound awful, so prep for it. I was like, money's not a bad thing. Like, for someone to be good at what they do, you want someone who's good at what they do. If they're good at what they do, they're probably paid for it. So, like, don't be afraid of seeing that as like, oh, that's a plus.
No, right.
Because Hollywood pitches this like, no, you've got to find the guy from the other side of the tracks who you're going to love into being a good person. And,
yeah. My therapist told me, she's like, no, financial stability is so important in a
Right.
relationship.
Yeah.
That's the part of the business.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
part of the business. And I've never, again, that's something I've also never looked at. I've always just thought like, oh, I'll take care of everybody.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Exactly.
yeah. And it's just important, but yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway.
Is there anything that worked or that you thought would work that didn't? Anything that y'all tried?
Oh, as a parent?
Yeah.
Or as this co-parenting stuff?
Yeah. Me. To be so I never had that moment with a woman where I thought, oh, she makes me want to be a better person, right? I thought it was a Hollywood line. I thought it was like, that's a stupid line in a movie. We're equals. I'm showing up. She's showing up. But when I met my son, and he was 2 and 3, all of my patterns started playing out again on this 2 or 3-year-old who's a little foggy on what tomorrow means, let alone any, concept of, and in that moment, I thought, shit, he needs me to be a better person because he has one dad and it's me. He needs me to be better. And that was a watershed. And I've never failed at anything every day for so many years in a row. Growing is slow. It's so painful. But if you love someone enough and you do it, you'll get better at it. And I'm now the person I wanted. I'm a better person.
Cute.
For him.
Wow.
So,
cute, Dad.
Yeah.
Oh, damn. Okay.
Yeah. How much, what all has your son taught you?
I started out trying to raise him with shades of how I was raised, thinking I was improving it.
Yeah.
But he's taught me acceptance. He's taught me sacrifice. I always wanted to improve and make things better and all that stuff, but that's a cancer. Someone else is what they are, and you just got to let them do what they're going to do. And he's taught me that. And in so doing, in being nicer to him, I'm a lot nicer to myself. I allow myself inconsistencies and flaws and in a way that I didn't before. I would double down to not make mistakes all day long, and he's made me a lot easier on myself as well.
Wow.
Oh,
I've heard that just children hold so much power or they're just like magic. The secret is in children. Because they're like a blank canvas to this world, and they're so pure and genuine with everything that they're feeling and the things that they say and the way that they live. I don't know. I strive to embody a childlike energy.
Yeah.
Very playful and real.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're great. They're their own thing. And I think the best parenting advice is listen.
Yeah.
I thought, she was, how old was she when she was almost 40 when she gave birth. And I remember, we look at the pregnancy test and she's like, I'm not ready. And I'm like, biologically, you don't get much more time.
Yeah.
So it's sort of now. And, but I wasn't sure how if I knew how to teach and how I was going to foster this child. And I learned so early it's about listening. You don't have to, you just have to listen aggressively. If they're having problems with something, they're having problems with something.
Yeah, it's so nice to be heard. Every human wants that.
Everybody's brain develops at different rates, different things at different times. It's all going to be fine. You've never met anyone who never figured out how to poop, or like it all happens. Right?
You figure it out.
Yeah. Some guy you start dating, he's like, I've never figured out how to cook.
Oh my God.
Well, they're probably out there.
Well, what's some advice for anyone listening that would want to try co-parenting that's probably more, it's more common that they don't have a good system with this. My
True.
parents absolutely did not, still
Right.
don't. So what's some advice?
People want to jump to, and it depends on what your life can support. People want to jump to the 1 week off, 1 week on. That's what people want to jump to. I didn't like that as a kid, not because I thought it was negative, but I think I would have benefited from more stability.
Yeah.
Instead of the popping back and forth. I think if you want to try it, and I credit my co-parent with this as well, it's not about you. You gotta pull up your big boy pants and get it done. It's not about you anymore. your time's over. It's
Yeah.
their time. And if you can understand that it's their time, you're going to be a better parent. And in knowing that it's their time, all of a sudden you're a good person because it's not about you anymore.
Yeah.
It's about other people. It's about, and should I get into a relationship? It's not my time. It's their time. It just makes you, it grows you up.
My parents are divorced, and like every holiday is still hard.
Right.
And
Are they in the same city?
no, 3 hours apart.
Oh,
and I
great.
have to fly all the way to Arkansas. And so it's just a lot of time.
Do you have to go like on the day, like to one, then 3 hours to the other?
Yeah, and like all of our birthdays are like my sister's the day after Thanksgiving, and then mine's the day after Christmas. So it's like so much celebration happening and so much like back and forth. But my stepmom or son, I believe it was her. She said, she was like, children go where they're most comfortable, and she just wants us to have like the freedom and the comfortability to do what we need to do. And like I feel like we all feel that. And I just always remember that, like, children go where they're the most comfortable.
Absolutely. My son
that's so
spends
true.
most of his time at his mom's house. He is they are genetically the same person. It's comical to see pictures of them at the same age. You're like, if you didn't see the difference in the photography, you'd go, that's the same person.
Wow.
Like, so, and they are, and I've learned to accept them both. Like they're not wired like me most of the time. And I have to understand that.
But I feel like, as a younger children are more bonded with the mothers starting out, right?
It makes sense. She's also a great mother.
Yeah.
So like I compliment him all the time. He's like, I like being at Mama's house. I was like, yeah, good choice. Like, smart man.
Yeah.
Do you think, I feel like he might, if start looking like you towards his later years? Isn't that what
that's
they
true.
say? They, like, I hear it's common that with boys, they look like their mothers at first, and then when they grow in age, they start looking like their fathers.
That could be.
There's
I was
chance in
I was
there.
told that when they're born, right when they're born, they look like their father.
Oh.
So that the dad won't reject them. Like some sort of
right.
evolutionary.
Yeah, no, I heard that too, but
Yeah.
this is like more like the younger.
Yeah,
like
the young-
it-
yeah.
Yeah. Oh
That's
my gosh, I
interesting.
thought about that. Yeah.
That's super dark though, right?
Yeah.
Nope. Guy walks
That's
away.
not mine.
And also, it's like their babies are so cute, so we don't kill them. Like
Yeah.
we automatically like, oh.
Oh, like childbirth is crazy. Like we had him in bed at home, right? That's
wow.
where it all went down.
Whoa.
And like that primordial grasp, they're like little gremlin worms when they're born, right? And if you put the baby on the stomach of the mom, this goblin who's been living inside the mom, and he comes out, he'll find his way to the breast, and like that's crazy.
It's
Wow.
like
Yeah.
a sea turtle that just got
Yeah.
born. They don't even have their eyes open, and they're just like sea.
Yeah.
That freaks me out.
Yeah.
And if you put your hand like that primordial, it's like, and they grab onto your hand, and it's a strong grip. You're
They're
like,
strong.
Yeah,
It's
you're
really
like-
hard to kill them, apparently.
I-
That's what they no, they're like, if you throw them in water, they turn up and float. Like, they don't really
Don't
have
try this at
bones.
home.
Yeah. Whoa, Stephanie, why have you heard this?
No, it's just babies are strong.
Oh,
yeah.
Arkansas.
It's just, no, babies are strong, and their bones and like their heads are just like,
Yeah.
they nature wants them alive. So it's just this thing.
They're resilient.
I have no personal experience with any of this. This is just
Yeah.
what
Babies
I've
have
heard.
been safe.
Well, my guy was so aware of who he was really young. It was very difficult teaching him stuff like swimming. Like we tried lessons for one day, and I was like, he's not going to have this. He was very clear early on, and like, nope, like what he likes and what he and his mom are the same person. As I said, people have described her as like, she is the same person to the T she was when she was 6, like zero changes. And he's the same.
That's
so it took me like
interesting.
2 years to teach him how to swim because I had to keep it fun all the time in the pool until he learned. There was no like putting him in a class because he's like, wouldn't have it. Yeah.
So funny.
To kind of go back into like the
Sorry.
living part of it. No. That was great. Do you think that homes should be designed with co-parenting in mind?
I'll flip this. All right. So,
Oh, wow.
yeah, human race just arrives on the planet.
Okay.
And the Oh Here We Go podcast has been tasked with designing cohabitation for families and relationships to maximize positivity and to prolong the relationships as long as possible. Do we end up with the houses we have now? I don't think so either.
I don't. Yeah.
But would it mean a bigger home?
I don't know. That's your job. You've been tasked with the job.
But I feel like it would look exactly like, or if it were separate homes, they would just be together.
Yeah, like would you
like
sit
a
in a
little
room?
connector.
Yeah, would you sit in a room and go, well, the couple should sleep in the same bed, same room, 12 by 12. That's good. And just instinctively you'd be like, I don't know, that's a big ask. 60 years?
Same room.
Or someone's got to sleep in the spare bedroom and feel like,
I
sleep in a spare bedroom.
I thought about that this week, and I think it was just because of this episode. And I know some people are like, some couples sleep in separate beds,
Totally.
Whenever they want to. But I was looking around my room, and I was thinking about this, and I was like, this is my room. Like, this is my personality all over this room. And I was like thinking about like a man who would maybe want to have their personality in their room, like instead of just like creating like a generic, like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like so everybody should have their own like nest and somewhere to be proud of. Like, my room's my personality, and of course I'm like down to share, but like, would someone I feel like someone should have the same like proudness of their room, or like the safety of their room.
Well, and I think a relationship, more than anything, lives and dies by the nuts and bolts of your life. Like, are you an early riser? Are you a night person? Are you a messy person? Are you a neat person? Like, all of that stuff plays out heavily if you share a space. Mm-hmm. If you have separate spaces, it doesn't play out so much. You would have common space rules, and then like, you do you in your room. Mm-hmm. It'd be neat to have separate rooms that you can do what you want, and that you would get into a relationship and go, oh, won't it be nice when we get to the point someday where we sleep in separate rooms for a while, as opposed to like, well, we have a relationship fail, we're in separate rooms, which is sort of what we have now a bit,
because it's so like looked in a negative way.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like I had multiple duvets in multiple relationships where I'm like, okay, this sharing a blanket thing is not working. So we're going to have 2 blankets. That's yours. This
Are
was
you
mine.
a blanket hog?
No, I don't think. Well, I don't know. Maybe in the middle of the night, but then they are it's an unnecessary reason to wake up.
Yeah.
Well, Josh here lately has been getting right in the middle of the bed, and it could be a king or queen size bed, and just
Yeah.
No.
So I'm just like,
Yeah.
yeah. Just wondering if you're one of those or not.
No, I'm a stay in one spot, don't move person.
Okay.
When I sleep, but I just think there's a lot of discussion that could take place at the beginning of a relationship, which would do a lot of good.
Yeah.
In terms of like, where do we see our living situation? Are you a sink full of dishes person, or are you a, hey, they're clean before we go to sleep person?
Ooh.
Yeah.
Like, because if you're a clean before we go to sleep person, then you're going to do the sink full of dishes person's dishes every night.
Oh.
Because they're going to be like,
so
well,
true.
I don't clean them up. So, I'll do them tomorrow. And the other person's like, fucking hate that. They're doing dishes all their life. It's just little things that become big things.
And you have to be like, just straight up be honest.
Yeah.
Yeah. About it. Because there's some people who are like, yeah, I clean the dishes. Yeah. Yeah, I do. Oh, I forgot.
Yeah. You got to be honest to yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I mean, my thing is like, if there's a difference between us, she would be, I'll use positive words only. She's breezy and I'm driven, right? So
I'll use positive words only. She's breezy and I'm wow, that was perfect.
Okay, so you can see how that, I'm obviously the sink empty, right? So like, I just like them done. I just don't want to have to do anything tomorrow. Mm-hmm. Meanest thing you can do to me before I go to sleep. Meanest thing you can do. So what are you doing tomorrow? Fucking. I'm thinking, I'm like, well, I got this. I'm not going to sleep now. Now it's like, oh, I'm all fired up.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Someone once said, we always strive to make tomorrow easier.
Yes.
And so hence like cleaning the dishes at night.
That's my thing.
You're
Yeah.
making your next day easier.
I just think about that. I'm like, what can I do tonight that I don't have to do, so I don't have to do it tomorrow?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm not saying she's a sink full of dishes sort of person. Officially. That was hold that out of the air.
One
As
There's an example.
Yeah.
So what are some projects that you're working on now? What are you excited about?
What I got, I'm doing a big ad for Maytag coming up in June or July. And I did a series called The Summer I Turned Pretty, and we're doing I think it premieres March 12th. And then I know the writer's room is back, which is a good sign. But if we get picked up, we'll be going also in June or July. So I'm doing those right now.
Dang,
That's so fun.
Yeah.
Yay.
Wow.
But it's hard being a parent because
Yeah. Those
before
set days are long.
there's no job I wouldn't take, right? Like I'm gone. And now there's a lot of stuff I don't. Where I'm like, I don't want to go out of town.
Mm-hmm.
Do they come with you on set ever?
His mom doesn't travel. Okay. She doesn't like that. So, or if she does, she's her most unhappy self when she's traveling. So it's not a fun thing to do.
Okay.
But with COVID, because they wouldn't let us fly back and forth, because they're like, well, no, you're here, you got to stay. You might get infected, and then we lock down. So I was there for a month without being able to go back. And he told me. He said, okay, he says, I get it, but this is too long. He said, don't do this again.
Your son?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. I said, okay, I hear you. Won't happen again.
Wow. If a child spoke to me like that, I'd be like, okay, whatever you want. Like, oh my gosh. Wow.
Yeah, he's my guy. So.
Oh, dang. Okay. Well, this has been really amazing.
Oh, thank you guys.
Such a cool episode.
You're really fun to talk to.
So are you. Part 2 next week. It's going to be great.
72 hours of this. Well, before we start wrapping it up, we have 3 questions we want to ask you that have nothing to do with this interview whatsoever.
All right.
I'll go first.
Okay.
What's your favorite way to cook or eat a potato?
A potato. What would I do?
Potato.
To cook or eat. Those are going to be different things. If I'm cooking it, right?
You're so amazing.
Those are going to be different.
Yeah, my brain tortures me endlessly. So yeah, they're going to be different. So I got I would probably bake potato if I'm going to cook it, but then it'd be French fries.
Okay.
Yeah.
There we go.
Yeah.
All right.
But I'm not going to make French fries from a potato. Like that's off the table. That's not happening.
No, that's there's a lot of joy in buying them. So
yeah, there is a lot of joy.
Okay, so if you could be a gold medalist at any Olympic sport, summer or winter, which would it be?
If I could be a gold medalist. Okay, that's like choosing a superpower. Because you're like, am I the fastest man in the world, or am I the strongest man in the world, or the highest jumper in the world?
Oh my God. Yeah, wait.
Right?
I never thought about it like
I'm probably the fastest man in the world.
Oh
yeah.
my God.
100 meter sprint. I'm like, oh, that? Yeah. 8 seconds, 100 meters. No problem.
Is that the one?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I'd be a 100 meter sprinter.
Okay, and then what's our last one?
Would you rather smoke weed on the beach or trip psychedelics in the desert?
Ooh. Okay. I get more bang for my buck if I'm gonna do psychedelics in the desert.
I get more bang for my buck. Who thinks of it like that? That's amazing.
Well, I would.
That's
yeah.
true though. You do
Right?
get more out of it.
It's. I got to go to the desert. I'm gonna be there all night. It's gonna be fantastic. That was great. Then go home. I have a VW van, so I'd go in that. I'm gonna go with though. I think just like smoking on the beach.
Oh wow. Okay.
Just
that took
easy.
a turn. Damn. Okay.
No, I mean it's such a toss up though.
Yeah, I know.
Because one's easy. You can do that in the afternoon and be like, that was awesome.
Right.
The
other one's a commitment.
You know what? Because of COVID and whatnot, I haven't had enough adventure. I'm going to say psychedelics in the desert.
Whoa.
There it is. Yes, round of
Yeah.
applause.
Joshua Tree.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, dang. This has been
Thank you, guys.
awesome.
Thank
This
you.
is
Thank you.
so great. Oh my gosh. I'm really glad we got connected.
Yeah, me too.
Oh, this is good. I guess where can our listeners find you?
You can't really. I'm not on Ego Rock.
You're on Instagram.
I have an account, but I just use it to talk to people but I don't really post anything. I'm not good at that.
Okay.
Should we link like your work episodes? Should we like list what you're in?
Surprise me.
What can people see you in right now, like on TV or?
Right now on TV, it would be The Summer I Turned Pretty coming out, and that's on Amazon.
Okay.
You're also in Vampire Diaries, right?
I am.
Vampire Diaries.
Yeah, I did like 10 episodes. They were the greatest guys. Like guys and girls, that whole set, because I show up and you expect, super popular show, super hit, super beautiful, like they're probably going to be dicks, like is what you do. You're like, okay, be prepared. And they were the nicest, most welcoming cast I've probably ever worked with.
That's really great to hear.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow, okay.
I feel like our listeners would probably be the most intrigued by that.
We didn't talk about that much. But it is. Yeah, he is in the Vampire Diaries, y'all. So.
Oh yeah, they're great. They were great. Like first day on set, I'd flown all night and just met Ian for the first time, and I said, "I'm sorry, I flew all night. I'm really." He goes, "Oh, brother, you can go to my room. I got like these mushroom things. You can like for health and like just go and take whatever you want. Like just the nicest group of people."
Oh, that's so sweet.
Yeah,
that's cute. Yeah. I wasn't expecting that. Okay.
No, right? Yeah. You'd sort of expect them to be like, arrive on a motorcycle, like
right.
Yeah,
that's
that kind
funny.
of vibe.
Yeah.
Okay,
sweet.
well, dang, guys, we're gonna link some stuff for Colin, and
Thank
you
you.
should check him out and watch him if you haven't already. But yeah, thanks for listening and making it this far.
Oh, okay. Here goes our outro.
Is this your freestyle rap? Have you been working?
Oh man!
No, I didn't mean to do that to you. That's awful. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I know. You got red.
I gotta get out of my mind and get into my body. We're not gonna do that though right now.
Okay. All right.
But thank you guys so much for listening. What do I want to say? If you want to keep up with us online, we're at Oh Here We Go on Instagram, at Stephanie Parsley, at the Lacey Claire. But everything will be linked down below. If you want to message us and tell us how you thought, tell us how you felt about this episode.
Tell us what you think and feel.
Yeah, we would love to know. And on that note, we will see you in our next episode.
Yeah.
Bye.
Bye.